Welcome to the Plato Paradigm, a paradigm shift in reading Plato's dialogues. Episode 106, Meno 82 C to E. So far, Socrates has drawn a square made up of 4 smaller squares. He's now going to extend 2 of the sides, and we don't know which sides he's going to extend. It doesn't really matter, but we need an image in our head. If he extends to the top left and bottom right, our original square will be in the bottom left-hand corner of the new rectangle if we complete the other 2 sides of the extended sides. The square, our original square, could have been in any of the corners of the new rectangle, but I'm going to have the original square in the bottom left-hand corner, just so that we all know what I'm talking about if I give directions. I'm not sure I will be giving directions, but just in case. At the moment, Socrates is still asking about the original square with 4 smaller squares in it. Eun e haute he plura duoin podoin kai haute duoin poson an e podon to holon. Well then, if this side is 2 feet and this 2, how many feet would the whole be? A foot here simply means a unit. There are 2 squares on the long baseline, so that's a line of 2 units, and there are 2 squares on the left line, so that's another 2. So the square is 2 by 2. We know that that makes 4, and it's possible simply to count the small squares. There are 4 small squares in the whole square. The slave evidently doesn't understand the question because Socrates has to carry on. Hodede scope, en taute duoin podoin, taute de henos podos monon, aluti hapax an en duoin podoin to chorion? Nai. Look at it this way. If there were this side 2 feet, but this side 1 foot only, wouldn't it be 1 times 2 feet, the area? Yes. We see that foot is being used ambiguously to mean either the length of a line or the area of a square. The baseline is 2 feet, the line on the left is 1 foot, and they cover the area of 2 feet. We would say 2 feet squared, or 2 square feet. For convenience, I'll call the units of measurement of the lines units, and the units of measurement of the area squares. So in this case, we have 2 units by 1 unit makes 2 squares. Notice that the slave simply says yes, and not absolutely, the way Meno does. Epedede duoin podoin kai taute, alutie dis duoin gignetai? Gignetai. But since there are 2 units this way as well, does it become anything other than twice 2? It becomes, in other words, yes, twice 2. Duoin ara dis gignetai podon? Nai. Therefore, the squares become twice 2. Yes. Posoi un esin hoi duo dis podes, logisamenos epe. Teteres, O Socrates. So how many are twice 2 squares? Having calculated, tell me. 4, Socrates. Since there's a lot more to this exercise, it's very easy to skip over this part as simple. 2 times 2 is 4. But we should remember what the point of the demonstration is. Is Socrates not teaching the slave? That's one point. Is the slave recalling, recollecting from his soul, knowledge which his soul has already seen in past lives, or, and Socrates has made it so obvious, is the slave actually calculating, as Socrates tells him to do? Socrates tells him, calculate 2 times 2, what do you get? Is 4, the answer 4, something that the slave has recollected from past lives, or is it something he has worked out on his own in this life? Meno doesn't notice. If Socrates had wanted Meno not to notice, he could have said to the slave, recollect and tell me the answer. But he says, calculate and tell me the answer. Why does Meno not notice, even though Socrates has given him every reason to stop the demonstration? It's because Socrates isn't teaching in the way that Meno expects teaching to take place. Socrates hasn't simply said to the slave, here is a square, each side is 2 units long, therefore the area of the square is 2 times 2, which is 4. So far as Meno is concerned, the slave arrived at the number 4 as if by magic, so it must have been through recollection. Now Socrates moves on to the next part of the problem. Ukun, genoit an tututu choriu heteron diplasion, toiutonde isas echon passastas grammas hospertuto? Nai. Well then, would there be another double this area, like this one, having equal sides, all of the sides, just like this one? Yes. Poson un estai podon? Octo. How many squares will it be? 8. The slave is actually quite good at calculation. He has managed to double 4 very quickly without any further help from Socrates. If we double the area of a square with 4 squares in it, we will need a square with 8 small squares in it. Ferede, pe romoe pen, pe like tis esta ekenu, he grame hekaste. Come now, try to tell me how great will be that line of that, in other words, area. In other words, what is the baseline of a square with 8 squares area? Either the slave hesitates here, or Socrates simply is too fast for him, and he carries on. Hemengar tude du oin podoin, tide he ekenu tu diplasiu. Delon deo Socrates hoti diplasia. For the line, the baseline of this, in other words this area, is 2 squares. What is the of that double? In other words, what is the baseline of that double area? It's clear, Socrates, that it's double. 8 is double 4. The double area, therefore, is to be built on the baseline, which is what compared to 2, the original baseline. Socrates has deliberately misled the slave simply because he has said that the area we're looking for is double the previous area, therefore the baseline we're looking for must be what? And the slave says double the baseline, which would mean 4 units long. Those of you who know geometry will already know that the slave is incorrect. The area of the square with 4 units length to a line is 16, and we only want 8. We want half of that area. Is the point to show how Socrates loves to pick on people less fortunate than himself? Or is he actually giving us a demonstration in recollection? Has the slave recollected the wrong answer? Is a wrong answer knowledge? Did the soul ever, on its travels through time and space, ever see the wrong answer to anything and consider that knowledge? That would imply that any wrong opinion we can dream up must have been seen by the soul in previous lives. The slave has come to his first wrong answer, and Meno hasn't reacted, so Socrates turns to Meno in an attempt to elicit a response. Horas o Menon hos ego tuton uden didasko al eroto panta, kai nun hutos oietai edenai hopoia estin aphesto octopun chorion genesetai eudokesoi, emoige. You see, Meno, that I teach this person nothing, but I ask all things. And now this person thinks that he knows how much is the line, in other words, from which the 8 square area will come to be. Or does he not seem to you? Yes, he does seem to me. Oiden un? Data. Does he know then? No, not at all. How does Meno know which line the double area should be based on? He has been taught by sophists. He has no problem remembering how to create the double area. But he hasn't been observing the demonstration. He hasn't considered where the false opinion has come from. And not only that, the slave thinks that he knows. This should surely be yet another problem we have with the theory of recollection. If I delve into my soul looking for knowledge and I come up with something which I think is knowledge, how do I know that that's knowledge? Notice that Socrates never prompts Meno to even query any of the demonstration. He just asks Meno to react to the demonstration, but no more than that. Meno seems to be quite happy that the slave thinks that he knows something which Meno knows is wrong, but it doesn't occur to him to conclude anything regarding this supposed demonstration of the theory of recollection. Oietai dege apotes diplasias? Nay. Does he think it's from the double line? Yes. It does look as though Meno is following the conversation, but he isn't following the significance of the conversation. He has not asked himself any of the questions he should have been asking himself. We'll carry on with this exercise next time.